In a previous video, I already introduced my integration testing helper, and in that video I focused upon running integration tests as fast as possible by simply disabling modules wherever we can, and also on top of it by configuring your own hosting environment so that the setup of Magento as part of that integration test is running as fast as possible. In this video I want to focus upon a different area of the integration testing helper, which is basically the console commands that are shipped within. The commands of the Yireo integration testing are basically just prefixed with integration. So if I would just grab for these commands, then you can see actually that there's only two commands. It's not a lot to demo, but the first command is simply going to check your environment to see whether all of the values that you've configured in your own configuration test folder, so that is actually dev tests integration, and then actually for instance the install config MySQL data, if this actually makes sense or if it doesn't make sense. The second command is actually the one that I want to talk about a little bit more because that checking is just something that is still in progress. But the other command, basically this one, toggle tests cleanup, specifically allows you to toggle the flag in the PHPUnit.xml file. And once you're really into integration testing, you know that this flag needs to be toggled quite a bit. Every time that you get started, you wake up in the morning, you basically start the integration test with the test cleanup to be enabled. And once actually that's being run one time, that's the Magento setup that is being run then. Then afterwards, you want to disable this by turning the flag into the value disabled. But doing this by hand is a little bit more cumbersome. So basically what I did was create just a command that is currently looking at the state, whether it's disabled, then toggle that value towards enabled, and if it's enabled, toggle that value back to disabled. And you can see the output basically modified in that PHPUnit.xml. And on the other hand, what you could also do is type specifically the state that you want to be in, for instance by entering here enabled. So this is then something that you can do repeatedly, knowing for sure that running this command in full is actually going to be setting that flag to be enabled. And once you have that all up and running, it becomes quite easy to integrate this in other areas. For instance, in PHP Storm, this is something I've configured under shell scripts. Now in my case, it's a little bit more cumbersome because all of this shell scripting is actually run within a Docker instance. But you can see that that integration testing command is still in there. And then actually it's pretty easy for me just to select the right value in the run menu and change that value accordingly. And that's basically how I stay myself, or how I keep myself in the flow of running integration tests.